Hello everyone, this is part 3 of What If Naruto and Hinata trained together and a spark happened, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Naruto's first thought as he woke up was that he was sitting in a very comfortable chair. His second thought was that he was chained to a very comfortable chair. Only after that did he start to remember the earlier battle. Naruto's eyes popped open. For a moment he was surprised he wasn't dead. He took in his surroundings, trying to determine what was going to happen. He immediately noticed his 3 friends were also tethered in chairs to his left. They were in a natural cavern, which had been richly outfitted as a dining room. They were seated before a magnificent hardwood table, set with beautiful china dishes and silver flatware. Naruto didn't see anyone else, so he turned his attention to the other leaf ninja. Sakura, he whispered, trying to nudge the kunoichi next to him. She mumbled but did not awaken. Naruto, Hinata opened her eyes and leaned past Sakura to look at her male counterpart. Hinata, Naruto shouted quietly, thank goodness. Are you alright? ? Yes, she replied, sotto voce, Neji used pressure points to disable me. No lingering damage. And you ? He punched me in the face until I paid out. But you know me, I'm a quick healer. Ooh. Rock Lee groaned, his eyes flickering. Then his substantial eyebrows shot skyward and his head jerked up. Neji, Sasuke, he exclaimed, before relishing the situation. Great, Naruto said, now if we could only get Sakura to wake up, we could figure out how to get out of here. I am awake, you idiot, the fiery girl lifted her head with a sigh, it's called playing possum ? Gathering information ? Well, everyone is finally awake, a deep, dark voice purred from the shadows. The ninja all looked in the direction of the sound, but could not pierce the darkness. Byakugan, Hinata said, but neither her eyes nor the veins around them changed. That won't work, the sibilant voice chuckled, those chains were specially created, they disperse and disrupt chakra. None of your jutsu will work while you are bound. What is it you want with us ? Lee asked carefully. For starters, dinner and polite conversation, the mysterious person answered, my servants are not the most skilled linguists. As he said that, a tray creaked into the room. It was pushed by a young woman. Or rather, the body of a teenage girl. Dressed in a maid's frock, she was in much earlier state of decay than the corpses they had faced earlier. But she was still quite dead. Stop, the self-proclaimed master of the dead said, your aroma is growing too advanced, Anora. Leave the cart. The girl nodded and backed out of range. How are you doing that ? Sakura was both curious and disturbed. He's a demon, Naruto answered simply. The others' heads rotated to look at him. How did you know ? Their captor sounded amused rather than upset. I can smell you. Really ? The demon sounded genuinely surprised, that is interesting. He stepped forward into the light, finally. The monster appeared basically human, though his facial structures were unnaturally angular. But 2 features marked him as other than mortal. His tapered, elegant fingers numbered only 3, and his ears extended 6 inches before splitting and ending in 2 sharp points. His lavender eyes regarded them with imperious curiosity. Yes, I am a demon of the blood taster tribe, he waved his hand as if explaining something obvious to a child. A vampire ? Lee shouted. The demon's face flashed with anger, but then he just looked at the ninja with pity. Hardly. Vampires are human myth, his face clouded for a second, and he admitted, though my clan may have inspired the legends. Vampires drain a human's blood to survive. I take a small amount of a person's blood, to gain a measure of their chakra, as well as all of their jutsu. That includes Kekkei Genkai, doesn't it? Hinata noted, remembering the flyer. Indeed, he grinned broadly. His pupils turned white, and the veins around his eyes expanded. The corneas around his pupils were lightly pink, deepening as it spread out to blood red at the outside. And inside each of those corneas, 3 Magatama circled. Byakugan and Sharingan, Naruto noted bitterly, you stole those from Neji and Sasuke. Stole ? The devil clicked his tongue, they still have their powers. And you make it sounded like they got nothing in return. Gentlemen, He grinned sinisterly, and Neji and Sasuke stepped into the light. No, in return for their power, they get to serve me forever. Naruto growled, and Hinata gasped, but both Sakura and Lee hid their reaction. Then those bodies, Sakura started. Call them zombies, the blood drinker offered, it is simpler, if inaccurate. Those zombies are the people whose blood you sucked ? She more stated than asked. Exactly. And as ? Hinata whispered. Well, the demon grinned broadly, as I said, dinner and conversation to start. I am hungry, and am in need of knowledge of the state of the world. So I will eat with you, and you will talk to me, while you plot and ponder your escape. Neji, Sasuke, untie their right hands, and then set the table. You want us to try and escape ? Sakura was suspicious and a touch sarcastic. It's called ennui, the boredom that comes with immortality. It leads one to take risks in the pursuit of entertainment. Not that there is much risk, he smiled at them condescendingly, humans can't kill demons. And I doubt any of you have the knowledge necessary to seal me in a rock, or ring, or human. No, if you escape all you could do is go back to your village for help. Why should we play your little game ? Naruto snapped. It's called manners, Uzumaki-san, the monster lectured, what separates humans from animals, and high-CL demons like myself from lesser creatures like the tailed beasts. Inside Naruto, the Kyuubi growled. Or if you won't play, I'll just drink you now, and find other ways to amuse myself. He looked Sakura and Hinata up and down suggestively. This time, it was Naruto who growled. Sakura looked disgusted, and Hinata shuddered but did not turn away. So what will it be ? The monster seemed pleased by their reactions. Naruto's scowl turned into a forced, sickly smile, and he asked, what's for dinner ? Actually, at this time of day, it would be lunch, the devil grinned. Lunch, as turned out, was a sumptuous affair. Medium-rare bacon-wrapped prime fillets. Steamed, garlic-hinted baby red potatoes, a medley of fresh fruits, and grilled sweet corn on the cob. All of the diners were suitably impressed, except for Naruto, who, politely, remarked that ramen would have been better. The monster courteously asked them about the current political environment, the 5 great nations, the hidden villages. They answered carefully, while trying to draw information from their host. Well, the demon seemed sad as he pushed away a plate with the remains of a 7-layer, 4 chocolate cake. It appears that dinner is done. All of you attempted to pick the locks with your forks, with varying degrees of success and secrecy. Naruto even tried using his spoon. And Lee has come far closer to destroying that chair than I would like. But you have failed to escape, which means it is time for me to do what comes naturally. He stood, and slowly rounded the table. When he reached Rock Lee, the taijutsu expert fired a hard punch at the monster's midsection. But the demon caught his wrist, and forced it back to the arm of the chair with inhuman strength. The monster forced Lee's head to the sign. Bending low, the vampire sunk his fangs into the ninja's neck. After a second, the creature jerked back with a look of disgust. He turned his head and spat Lee's blood onto the stone. Worthless, the devil snarled, no ninjutsu, or genjutsu. And your chakra is so stunted I can't even access it. The bloodsucker struck the back of Lee's head with a knife hand, knocking the ninja unconscious. Relishing he had lost his composure, he took a moment to steady himself before moving behind Hinata. I already have the Byakugan, he commented, but you have shown other skills. And a backup might be useful. Hinata shivered with fear as the monster slid her hair to the side, so he had a clear view of her neck. After he bit into her neck, he pulled back with a look of surprise and joy. Delicious, he exclaimed, and Neji thought he was the strongest Byakugan user. Naruto saw Neji twitch out of the corner of his eye, but when he turned to look, the Leaf Jonin was standing still. The vampire released Hinata, and ordered her to take her place beside Sasuke. The girl did so without hesitation or expression. Next, Sakura tried to fidget and squirm to avoid being bit. But without her chakra, the demon was stronger, and he dug his fingers into shoulder and upper neck to hold her still. Sakura flinched slightly as his fangs pierced her skin. The demon drew deeply from her artery, before stepping back, licking his lips. What exquisite control. Medical jutsu, not something I would have sought, by my servants fight, and smell, better while they're technically alive. And great strength, you are not a total loss, Sakura. Go stand by Neji. He removed her chains, and she moved to where he indicated. You are last, Naruto. I'm curious to see just what you are made of. Unlike his friends, Naruto did not put up any resistance. He tilted his own head, offering his neck. The demon paused, trying to decide if this was a show of pride, or if the human was up to something. Nevertheless, he bit deeply into the blonde youth. You have a demon sealed within you. The vampire spat Naruto's blood onto the boy's lap. You are as useless to me as Lee. Which your guest must have told you. Then he scooped up a drop of the fluid, and pressed it firmly to his tongue. I thought I recognized that flavor. If it isn't the nine-tailed fox. I had heard you disappeared, old friend. Your concern is touching, the vulpine snarled within its host. I would say curiosity more than concern. He waved his three-fingered hand as a dismissal. Wait, you heard that question mark? Yes, the demon presence acts as a barrier in your blood. But while I have the connection, he displayed the still bloody finger, I can hear the beast within. We should take this opportunity to catch up. Why don't you let me out, and we can relive old times, Doraku question mark, the tailed demon's voice was darkly threatening. No, that doesn't sound like it is in my best interests, then the demon turned suddenly, but that does give me a good idea. Sakura, heal Lee's head and wake him up. Spitting out Naruto's blood again, he practically skipped to stand behind the other three ninja slaves. The healer used her training, and the martial artist roused with a groan. Now free them, Doraku tossed her the key. What question mark? It's a new game, the demon responded, as Sakura rejoined them and returned the key. The two men who still had their own will stood slowly, expecting treachery. So, this game will be simple. Outside, he indicated the page to the left, you will find your weapons and equipment. Please don't take Sakura or Hinata's gear, to be fair. In 60 seconds, I will order these four to kill the pair of you. I promise none of my other servants will become involved, though I can't say the same for myself. Run, fight, do whatever you want. That's what makes it interesting for me. Your head start begins now. Nodding to each other, the two leaf ninja ran out of the room. Outside they quickly regained their tools. Run or fight question mark, Lee spoke quickly and quietly. Normally, there's no way I'd back down from a scrap with Neji or Sasuke. But I can't fight Hinata or Sakura like this. I agree, Lee nodded, so we escape and go for help. When they rounded the first corner, the tunnel divided into three separate pages. Two were more or less level, while the third angled downwards. Split up question mark, Naruto asked. 2 on 1 is safer than 4 on 2, and we will have a better chance of finding the way out. We won't get out by going down, Naruto commented, I'll take the right. I disdain the obvious. I will see you outside, Lee nodded again as he ran off down the middle page. Go, the blood demon instructed, kill Naruto Uzumaki and Rock Lee. Hinata and Neji, use your Byakugan so that I may observe. The brainwashed ninja complied silently. When they reached the fork, all four took the left branch. Wait, he spoke his command even though they were all out of earshot. The quartet froze. As interesting as it is, you can't all go after Naruto. Hinata and Sasuke go after Naruto. Neji and Sakura, you will have to content yourselves hunting Lee. The group separated as instructed. Doraku concentrated, splitting Hinata's Karaname jutsu to his right eye, and Neji's to his left. Lee had left behind all but 4 of his weights, keeping only the set that he could combine into a quarterstaff. Even before the quick exchange with Naruto, he knew that the best chance, their only chance, was to go for help. Right, left, right, middle, Lee kept track of his path as he raced through the cave. At each junction, he chose whichever path had the greatest downward grade. Despite the common perception that caves were below the ground, he decided that it was possible they could have been taken up into the nearby mountains. Lee noted that the tunnels varied between both natural caves and human-reinforced mines. Along the way, he paused once, to examine the ribbons of glowing crystal that gently lit the caverns. The martial artist broke off a piece of the stone, but it lost its shine in his hand. Relishing he wasn't going to learn anything, he continued. He turned a corner, and skidded to a stop just before the dead end. I must have taken a wrong path, he said to himself, it is times like this I wish I could use some manner of jutsu to find my way. Oh man, Naruto grabbed his head in frustration, I should have paid more attention when the pervy sage was teaching me that maze-solving jutsu. Having reached a third junction, the blonde teen stopped, staring down each of the 4 paths. I could split up, he considered, starting to summon chakra to duplicate, but if I go down the wrong path, and my clones find the right one, I'll have to backtrack. He suddenly perked up. I could send out clones and stay here. No, then Hinata and the others could catch up to me. He closed his eyes tight, rubbing his hair. Darn it, I'm wasting time. And I should probably save my chakra. Nodding to himself, he took the rightmost path again. Lee slid to a stop as he turned the next corner and almost ran into Naruto. Naruto, he panted slightly, obviously this was not the right way. I will try another path. When the normally rambunctious Genin said nothing, Lee's instincts turned him back just in time to let him block the kunai aimed at his neck. The weight he had strapped to his left arm stopped the dagger cold. Lee put his hand to Naruto's chest, and the younger ninja was launched back. What are you doing? The martial artist asked. Are you under that monster's power also? But Naruto seemed fine before, Lee thought to himself. Considering that idea, Lee launched into a quick series of punches and kicks against the blonde shinobi. He observed carefully how the genin blocked and dodged, and after a half-minute, he knew. You might as well show yourself, Neji, he told his opponent. I know it is you. He heard a shuffle, and managed to avoid Sakura's attack, even as Neji released the transformation jutsu. Lee stepped back so they could not surround him. He released the 4 weights and quickly embled his weighted staff. He caught Sakura's foot on his weapon as he tried to find a way to fight back without hurting his friends. Sasuke and Hinata froze when they reached the fork. Footprints lead down each of the 3 tunnels. Well, the demon's voice echoed in their heads. Which way did the real Naruto go? The 2 slaves just stood, not moving, not blinking. Answer, Doroku sounded exasperated. No way to tell. Sasuke's voice was flat. Naruto is too random. Then Hinata moved, but not to one of the tunnels. She palmed a trio of shuriken, and flung them at the wall. Part of the stone swept outwards, and Naruto knocked the throwing stars away with his chameleon tarp. I should have known I couldn't fool the Byakugan, Naruto grunted. He plucked 2 of the blades from the cloth, and hurtled them at Sasuke. The last Uchiha quickly signed, and spit out a stream of fire. Without the final, vocal seal, the fireball jutsu was not at full power, but was still enough to blow away the shuriken and send of flames at Naruto. The blonde shinobi countered by summoning a Rasengan, deflecting the attack away from both himself and Hinata. And in return for his kindness, Hinata charged him. He recognized her stance of the 8 trigrams Holy Cyclone, the improved version of the heavenly spin that she had devised during their training. The Holy Cyclone could neutralize the Rasengan almost every time, and in many cases, survive the encounter. It was also larger and more damaging than the heavenly spin. But Naruto had a theory he had yet to test. Rasengan, he exclaimed, creating a second sphere in left fist. As the deep purple energy dome sprang forth from Hinata, he thrust both of his spiraling spheres forward. Though the phrase, harmonic dissonance, may have been way over Naruto's head, he understood the principle at a very basic level. The 2 globes both shuddered when they struck Hinata's barrier, but ultimately won out. The Holy Cyclone tore apart like paper, and the unsuspecting blood slave was knocked to her knees. Naruto did not press his advantage, instead keeping 1 Rasengan trained on each opponent. Hinata, please stop, Naruto begged, I don't want to fight you. Sasuke aimed a punch at Naruto's head, but Naruto swung up his left hand and the twice traitor had to hold his attack to avoid losing his hand. Hinata, I know you are stronger than this. You don't want to hurt me, he pleaded with her. In the middle of lifting her leg for a kick, she paused, and replaced her foot. A look of confusion flitted across her face. Then her visage emptied again, and she crafted her own Rasengan to counter his. She's still in there, Naruto thought, just like how Neji reacted when Doroku said Hinata is stronger. You know that won't work, he told her gently, my Rasengan is still stronger than yours, and you are still limited to 1 at a time. I think you are trying not to hurt me. He reinforced the sphere in his right hand, and brushed his Rasengan to hers, destroying it. Sasuke jabbed with the Chidori, but like the previous night, his movements were off. Naruto wondered if it was a side effect of the blood control, or if his rival was injured. He elbowed the sound ninja's ribs, forcing him back, while the leaf ninja continued to focus on the kunoichi. Doraku again ordered him to kill Naruto, this time with a harsh edge. Thought he could hear Sasuke and Hinata's thoughts such as they were, and see via the Karaname jutsu, he could not hear Naruto, and thus could not determine what jutsu the boy was using to disable Hinata. As the demon had suspected, the genin was loath to harm the girl. Obviously, he knew another way to disable the Byakugan user, and the vampire wanted to know what technique it was. Hinata slowed again, her lips trembling. Always proactive, Naruto pushed his advantage. These last few months have been the best of my life, he informed her honestly, training with you, getting to know you, growing closer to you. She gulped and took a step away. She activated Tsunde's attack, and lightning surrounded her hands. Naruto sent a clone to keep Sasuke busy, and continued to talk to Hinata while carefully avoiding her strikes. You know me better than anyone else. And I won't lose you. Naruto dropped the Rasengan, and knocked her hands away. He knew he was gambling with his life, even as he stepped in close and put his arms around her. I trust you, Hinata, he whispered into her ear, as he hugged her tightly. He waited for her to touch him, disabling his nervous system. Doraku swore elegantly. Naruto had managed to knock out Hinata. After all, if she were dead she would just become one of his zombies. And without the Byakugan user, he could not see what was happening. Sasuke, quit playing, he demanded angrily, kill Naruto as quickly as possible. Naruto, Hinata suddenly shouted in a worried voice. He dove forward reflexively, shielding her as Sasuke's barrage of tiny fireballs swept the room. He was struck, receiving a number of moderate burns on his back, but the tough young man ignored the pain as he leaped again, carrying Hinata free from the barrage. I knew you could do it, he told her as he turned to face Sasuke again. Despite his injuries, Naruto was grinning from ear to ear. Naruto, what happened? The last thing I remember, that fiend was biting my neck. You and Sasuke were trying to kill me. But you managed to break free, with a little coaxing. Which reminds me. He grabbed his radio, even as he dodged another attack from the still enslaved Sasuke. He flicked the frequency dial while Hinata stepped forward to knock aside two thrown kunai. Lee, he called their other ally. I am rather busy, Naruto, Lee grunted. Perfect, Naruto enthused, I got Hinata back, with a little emotional prodding. Really? Rock Lee grinned as he circled away from Neji and Sakura, thank you for the tip. Lee cracked his quarterstaff gently against Sakura's extended wrist, and started talking. I am surprised, and a little disappointed, he told her, is this the same Sakura that defeated Ino's mind transfer jutsu? The girl who tried to jump in between the Rasengan and the Chidori? Sakura tried to grab his weapon, but he rotated it away, knowing with her enhanced strength she could take it away if he gave her the slightest chance. Neji brushed past her, and struck quickly with his gentle fist. Lee avoided the strike, blocked the next two with his staff, and dodged the fourth. But the Jonin's fifth attack landed, tearing Lee's left bicep. The martial artist nearing dropped his weapon, but gritted his teeth against the pain to retain his grip. Lee jabbed Neji in the solar plexus, pushing him back and knocking the breath out of him. What happened to being useful to your team? He prodded. How will you be of any use, if you are a slave of our enemy? Her next blow was more awkward than her previous strikes, and Lee knew Naruto was correct. Again, the vampire growled. Now Lee was constantly talking, and Sakura was faltering. But Lee had no ninjutsu or genjutsu, so he was not using a power against the kunoichi. Could he really be disrupting her just by speaking? That should not be possible, his control was absolute. Or are you thinking that this is your chance to be close to Sasuke? Lee swept Neji's legs as he jabbed at Sakura's emotions, because it isn't. Sasuke won't even know you are there. And you saw how that perverted monster looked at you. Sasuke won't be the one you will be close to. The girl shuddered and froze. And what about Naruto? The one who did not betray you, your team, or our village, and who never tried to kill you. Are you just going to abandon him, or worse try to kill him? No, the girl dropped to her knees, clutching her head. One last push, the taijutsu master thought, well, then I guess Ino wins. What question mark? Sakura was on her feet, livid. No way I'm losing to Ino Pai. Her question mark? She stopped, confused. Lee, what's going on question mark? Neji surged forward and knocked the staff from Lee's hands. He grabbed Lee's vest, and turned the bushy-browed Chunin over his shoulder, throwing Lee into the wall. But Lee was able to twist around in the air, placing his feet against the wall. Rock Lee pushed off the stone, and body slammed Neji. The monster ordered the four of you to kill Naruto and me. Naruto question mark. Yes, the demon could not control him either. Naruto was able to break Hinata free by playing to her emotions, and I was able to do the same for you. Neji hoisted Lee off his chest, and Lee landed near Sakura. I hope we can do the same for Neji and Sasuke. Inconceivable. Doraku exclaimed. Sakura was no longer under his control. He could clearly see her up and moving through Neji's Karaname jutsu, but could no longer sense her or control her. He could still taste her blood, and access her jutsu, but she was free. The same might be true for Hinata. This should not be possible. There were only two ways to remove a human from a blood taster's control. Maybe he had not taken enough blood. Or Naruto or Lee's blood might have interfered. Sasuke, Neji, kill your target and bring back Sakura and Hinata. He considered stopping his remaining servants, but decided to let it continue for now. He had to learn why this was happening. It's not working. Naruto slid back after blocking Sasuke's kick. He had been plying Sasuke with supplications of teamwork and friendship. But the rogue ninja had never shown even the slightest sign of emotion. Naruto, Lee's voice came over the radio. I woke up Sakura. She woke up when I suggested she had lost out to Ino. That's it. Thanks Lee. You are welcome question mark. The martial artist sounded confused. What is it? Naruto question mark. Hinata asked. Sasuke isn't really a human. He's just a human-shaped jack. You take that back, Naruto. Sakura's voice emerged from the communicator. He ignored her. Of course appealing to his better nature won't work, Naruto continued. He doesn't understand kindness or loyalty. We gotta make him mad. Alright, save your batteries. Sakura resumed her role as leader, but keep in contact if anything happens. So, are we going to try to wake Neji up question mark? Sakura asked, trying to sweep the Jonin's legs. Neji leapt over her foot, aiming his own kick at her head. Lee caught his ankle and pushed him away. I do not see why we should, Lee answered. Making sure Neji could not see him, he winked at Sakura. She managed to hold the surprised look on her face, and nodded. He left the village without permission, and joined with an enemy, Lee continued. That would seem to make him a traitor. And we have already reclaimed the main family scion. Why do we require a branch family member? Neji focused his attacks on Lee. If Sakura drew to close, he would aim a quick strike, to attempt to disable her. But otherwise, he doggedly pursued his teammate. Lee continually dodged, moving backwards through the tunnel, staying just out of reach of the gentle fist. You're right. We don't need Neji, anyway, Sakura agreed. The demon said Hinata is stronger. Interesting, Lee considered. The monster would have no reason to lie. Neji also told me that he was not sure he could have persevered in my situation. Then why are we still hanging around question mark? Sakura asked. Indeed, why stay question mark? Neji's dulcet tones probed. Neji, they both shouted. So, you finally found your way out, huh? Sasuke question mark. Naruto's tone was conspiratorial and condescending. Sasuke's response was a hard right to Naruto's face, but the genin recovered without pause. It's not like you ever really had a chance against Itachi, he derided, the greatest son of the Uchiha clan. Every time you've confronted him, you've been beneath his notice. And you picked Orochimaru to teach you to defeat him. Jiraiya told me, Orochimaru tried to possess Itachi and failed. Or did the old snake keep that to himself question mark? Sasuke growled and launched another barrage at his former teammate's head and chest. Enough. Sasuke, come back now. The vampire decided he was not going to lose his last, and strongest slave. I think it is time for me to become involved, Doraku said to himself. Neji, are you okay question mark? Sakura observed him with a physician's eye. I'm fine. What do you remember question mark? Lee prompted. When I arrived in this town for the tournament, I realized something was wrong. As I started to investigate, Sasuke Uchiha suddenly attacked me. But he was off. There is no other word for it. He did not speak, even to invoke his jutsu. And his movements were awkward. In the battle I broke, or at least cracked, his right tibia. After that, Sasuke retreated and a number of puppet corpses attacked me. Just call them zombies, Sakura suggested, it's easier. They were not strong, but they were resilient and numerous. We observed that as well, Lee nodded in agreement. When it became obvious I was to be captured, not killed, I pretended to be knocked unconscious, to try and learn what was going on here. Would you mind teaching the concept to Naruto ? Sakura asked, drawing a slight grin from the normally taciturn Jonin. I watched carefully as they carried me through these caves, for any hint of what awaited. After a short walk, they placed me in a chair in a lavish dining room. The blood demon questioned Sasuke, who told the monster of me in short, clipped sentences. When he had learned what wanted, he bit me. After that, I woke up to find myself being insulted by my comrades. I apologize, Lee looked contrite, it was necessary to generate an emotional response to free you from the demon's control. Wait, Sakura stepped closer, if you were awake while they brought you to that dining room, does that mean you remember the way out? Of course, Neji smirked superiorly. Great, she grabbed Lee's radio, and triggered it. Naruto, we woke Neji. He knows the way out. Once you and Hinata wake up Sasuke, or knock him out, meet us back at the dining room. There was no answer over the radio. Naruto ? Are you hearing this ? When nothing but static came through, she looked back at the older ninja. We better get back. I shouldn't be surprised, Naruto kept talking. Sasuke's attacks had ceased, he was now trying to escape, but the two-leaf ninja cut him off at every turn. I mean, it took those sound ninja a whole 5 minutes to convince you to betray the village your clan once honorably defended. And now you've found another new master. Suddenly, the defector abandoned in opening by Hinata, to spit another stream of fire at Naruto. This must be a dream for you. You don't have to fight Itachi, but you don't have to feel guilty for giving up. And best of all, you don't have to feel the pain of your parents' murder. Chidori, Kakashi's former student roared, his hand surrounded by lightning. Hatred filled his eyes, and, but for a slight limp, his charge was crisp and certain. Naruto deftly evaded the first slash, and the second punch, but Sasuke caught him with a normal backhand strike of his left hand. Looks like you finally shook it off, Naruto chuckled, returning Sasuke's angry stare. Hinata started to step forward, but Naruto shook his head. I finally get to kill you, Naruto, Sasuke stated. Give it your best shot. Naruto, we woke Neji, Sakura's voice suddenly erupted from the radio, giving both men pause, he knows the way out. Once you and Hinata wake up Sasuke, or knock him out, meet us back at the dining room. Naruto turned off the radio and continued to glare at Sasuke. So, what's it gonna be ? Naruto asked, fight me until that demon shows up, or deny him his prize and escape ? One don't know how he caught you before, but you probably would stand a better chance of getting revenge with some allies. Though his visage did not change, Uchiha's stance softened slightly. Then, finally, he dropped his arms. Fine, he snapped, we have a truce until we escape this maze. Let's find the others. Lee. Sakura's shout echoed through the cave. The taijutsu expert recoiled from the kick to his midsection, but allowed himself to fall back to avoid the second foot aim for his chest. Sakura's fist bounced off the invisible wall surrounding her, while Neji watched like a caged predator. Your friends don't seem to like the Nankyuabara Kekkei Genkai, the demon noted, slashing at Lee with his wakizashi. Lee had dissembled his staff, and bound one part to the outside of each of his forearms. He used the improvised braca on his left arm to block the curved blade, and struck the vampire's chest with an open palm. But I wanted some time alone with you, Doroku continued, unconcerned by the attack. You see, I'm torn. On the one hand, you have cost me 2 powerful servants. And the rank taste of your blood still lingers in my mouth. The monster stabbed again, attempting to trap the leaf Chunin against the wall, but then again, this has been interesting. And I have learned a previously unknown weakness of my power. So, should I give you a quick death, or a slow one ? Because I can't let you live, knowing what you know. Lee's answer was a leaf gale. The demon jumped easily over the leg sweep, but the Chunin turned his momentum into leaf great whirlwind. He caught Doraku in the chest, sending the monster higher. Unfortunately, the ceiling was too low, and Lee could not follow up with the leaf dancing shadow. The vampire twisted in the air, and stuck to the roof. He glared down at Lee with what could only be described as disappointment. The blood drainer coiled, and launched himself at Lee, leading with his blade. The teen motioned as if to block with his wrist, but then stepped inside and smashed the vampire's wrist with the 30-pound weight on his own forearm. The expected crack of bone was not heard, and the vampire countered with a punch to the human's heart. The attack sent Lee flying. Attacks like that won't work, the demon paused, not bothering to press his advantage. Lee rose, clutching his chest. The jutsu Sakura uses to boost her strength is more impressive than she knows. I can use it to make my muscles hard as iron. Blunt attacks won't have much effect on me. Doraku sighed, and looked away from Lee. This is boring. Perhaps with some extra help you might be a challenge. He placed his hands together, and the barrier holding Neji vanished with a soft tone. Of course I know all Neji's moves. But you humans can be so creative and unpredictable. Or at least he can be a distraction. Neji ignored the jab and moved slowly forward. His Byakugan scanned the demon intently, trying to find a weakness. Then he darted forward, aiming for his opponent's right arm with glowing fingers. Good choice, the demon easily dodged. Without my weapon, I could be slightly less dangerous. The vampire's left hand snaked out, and his gentle fist tapped Neji's left temple. The Byakugan in the Hyuga's left eye faded out. Then with a grimace of pain at the off-center vision, he cancelled the other jutsu in his other eye. Neji fainted low, then struck from the left. He pressed hard, sacrificing accuracy and success for keeping the demon off-center. Well, this is interesting, the demon noted, knocking aside another attack, but you aren't really accomplishing anything. Unless you are trying to push me towards Lee. Doraku suddenly kicked out, and his stolen strength jutsu sent Neji flying. He used the momentum to do a 180, facing the martial artist. But rather than looking surprised or chagrined, Lee just smirked even as he finished throwing the punch the demon readily blocked. Then the plan became clear when Neji's shadow clone exploded and the original surged through the smoke to the now exposed monster. 8 trigrams, the Hyuga Jonin exclaimed, stabbing a chakra point on the demon's spine. 2 palms, he continued, striking the left shoulder and elbow. 4 palms, the speed of his strikes increased as his path took him in front of the bloodsucker. 8 palms, 16 palms, he flowed around his would-be master, shutting down his chakra network. 32 palms, 64 palms, Doraku was barely standing, and Neji was a blur. 128 palms, Neji concluded with a Mai volley. But then the demon started to chuckle. Very impressive, he proclaimed, looking to where his weapon had been knocked. I might be in trouble, if it wasn't for one little thing. The demon placed his hands together and intoned, chakra pulse. You see, the monster smirked as he stretched back to his normal posture. Hinata has a counter for that move. I am well aware of the technique Hinata and Naruto developed. Neji's verbal counter was just as smug. I just needed to disrupt your chakra network for a second. Doraku was unable to dodge as the now free Sakura Haruno barreled into him. Fine. The demon snorted in disdain as he rose. His tone was still amused, but his eyes were not. Playtime is over then. As he dropped his arms, the vampire's limbs were surrounded by both the soft blue glow of the gentle fist, and the purple sparks of the Ranshinsho. His eyes transformed under the power of both the Sharingan and the Byakugan. And under Neji's restored Byakugan, chakra spiked out of each of the monster's muscles. I'll humiliate you with your own techniques. Sakura blinked, and missed the Doraku's charge. Before she realized, the demon was trading blows with Neji, this time pushing the teen Jonin back. Sakura started to move to help, but Neji shook his no, then indicated Lee with a glance. The other young man was clutching his chest again, and the medical ninja blinked in acknowledgement. She flashed across the cavern, and gently brushed his hands aside. Using both touch and chakra, she determined his ribs were cracked, not broken, but a splinter had come perilously close to his left lung. She quickly dissolved the shard, and then started to repair his bones. That was a mistake, the demon hissed. He knocked Neji's hands wide, and drilled 2 fingers into each of Neji's shoulders. Muscles tore, his chakra system was interrupted, and his arms flailed wildly from the shock to his nervous system. With the shinobi temporarily crippled, the monster was able to grab Neji's shoulders, and place his face inches from the teen's. As he did, the demon's eyes changed again, the circling tomo becoming blade-like and connecting to his pupil. Mangekyo Sharingan, Tsukiyomi. For 3 long heartbeats, the enemy's eyes were locked. Then Neji let out a pitiable whimper. The demon released him, and Hyuga collapsed to the floor, eyes open yet seeing nothing. Doraku let out a sharp breath as he returned his focus to Lee and Sakura. Well, that technique is exhausting, he commented, but quite useful. Total incapacitation, and no permanent damage. And I also have the technique to wake him up when I need. He nodded at Sakura, then added, of course, that means I need to keep you away from Neji, my dear. Sakura, Lee stepped in front of her, whispering, Guy-sensei has taught me how to fight those with the Sharingan. I will hold him off while you restore Neji. Do you think I will let that happen? The monster asked. He stood over Neji, challenging them. Lee started towards the demon, but Sakura rushed past him. Doraku caught her fist in his hand. Sakura let out an angry shout, and the demon was shocked when he pushed was back. The girl did not even seem to notice the disrupting electricity flowing into her. She punched again, and the vampire released her left fist to avoid her right. Interesting. I have all your skills and more chakra. I should be stronger. The power of the jutsu is based on your natural strength. You steal power, you don't earn it yourself. You'll never be stronger than me. Cute speech, he cracked his knuckles, and you know the counter to the Ranshinsho. For all the good that will do you. He dropped his arms to his sides, expelling chakra. Sakura thought recognized the technique, and both braced her arms and jumped back. Unfortunately, she was too close, and was not aware of this variation. 8 trigrams, Holy Cyclone. The enhanced technique flowed outwards, and the dome of crimson chakra lifted the Kanoiki into the air. Ill-prepared for the attack, Sakura could not do anything to right herself before she was slammed into the wall. She slid to the ground, then tried and failed to stand. Alone again, the demon extended his hand, and his short sword flew back to his hand. He darted forward, swinging the blade like a much heavier weapon. Lee moved to block, but Doraku shifted his blade, cutting the weight, sleeve, and some skin from Lee's arm. The leaf shinobi tried to counter with a kick, but the vampire caught his ankle and sent a strong electric charge through Lee's leg. Lee kicked again with his left leg, but grunted in pain when Doraku stabbed him in the thigh. The demon dropped Lee, shaking his head. I expected so much more. The wakizashi plunged for Lee's exposed heart. Clone railgun. Naruto's voice arrived only an instant before the teen did. Naruto's foot collided with the demon's temple and neck, and the bloodsucker rocketed hard into the stone wall. Behind Naruto, the 24 clones who had catapulted him forward exploded, clear the way for Sasuke and Hinata. Sakura, help Neji and Lee, Naruto instructed as he stared murder at the demon, we got this. Ah, good, the second course. The demon pulled himself to his feet, snapping his neck back into place. Naruto, don't look in his eyes, Sakura warned, limping over to Lee, he has the Mangekyo Sharingan. Naruto spared a sideways glance at Sasuke at that, but the traitor did not appear surprised by the news. Please, the vampire was offended, as if I would be so gauche as to use the same jutsu twice in one battle. I have already decided not to use any of your techniques against these 3. Naruto, duck, Hinata warned as Sasuke threw a quartet of kunai at the demon, not caring his former teammate was in the way. After her training partner moved, Hinata added her own blades to the attack. Doraku lifted a hand, and the 7 daggers stopped in midair. Tetsu Kabushi Kekkei Genkai. The power to control iron. Nice craftsmanship, though, he flicked his hand back, and one of the floating weapons shot at each of the active ninja. The teen shinobi dodged fairly easily. The demon waved the fingers on his left hand, and the 4 remaining kunai melted and merged, transforming into a broad-bladed short sword. Doraku grasped the weapon with his left hand and smirked at them. The Murasame clan that possesses this bloodline trait are also the originators of the legendary weapon forged jutsu. Though they had a much easier time performing it, as do I. He flitted past Naruto and went straight for Hinata with both of his disparate swords. She lightly avoided the wakizashi, and knocked aside the gladius. She observed his weapons carefully, and after his 5th slash, summoned a Rasengan. The next time the newly forged weapon came close, she tapped it with the chakra ball. The sword splintered with barely an impact. Not quite up to the standards of the Murasame clan, Sasuke stated snidely. That question mark, the vampire threw the handle of the broken sword at Uchiha, more as an insult than as an attack, that was a toy. Even with the Kekkei Genkai it takes at least 20 minutes to craft a decent weapon. Hinata took advantage of the minor distraction to strike the vampire's right wrist with the spiraling sphere. The demon's hand opened reflexively, dropping the wakizashi to the floor. The girl stomped hard, breaking the blade off at the hilt. And how long did you take to make that one question mark? Naruto needled. That was an artifact of the first Mizukage. It was worth more than all of your miserable lives combined. He punched Hinata hard in the stomach, expelling her breath. Then he grabbed her by the neck and hoisted her an inch from his face. It looks like I lied. Mangekyo Sharingan, Tsukiyomi. He stared into her eyes, attempting to shatter her mind with his horrors. Hinata's body shook, and she gritted her teeth. Then her eyes widened further. Suijin Byakugan, reflection, she announced. Though the other three could not see it, Naruto and Sasuke were amazed as Hinata's white cornea and iris suddenly turned solid metallic silver. Then the vampire's head snapped back as if struck and he released Hinata. The girl landed on her feet, but exhaled sharply and slid to her knees, her eyes returning to normal. The vampire almost fell back, but with a grimace caught himself, and returned upright, though still unsteady. The eye that sees only truth can become the eye that deflects all illusions, Doraku intoned harshly, the loss of his weapon forgotten, that power has not been seen for almost 100 years. I must have it. He picked up Hinata again, this time exposing her neck. He lifted her towards his waiting fangs. Chidori. Before the vampire could steal Hinata's new power and grow stronger, Sasuke darted forward, severing the tendons in Doraku's right wrist. The demon could no longer hold Hinata, but Naruto flashed in, catching the girl. He moved to the opposite side of the cavern, placing her next to Lee. I'm sorry Naruto, she whispered, I can barely move. I feel like most of my strength has been drained. It's okay, Hinata, he reassured her, you rattled him. Sasuke and I can take it from here. The monster grabbed his wrist, and used Sakura's healing skills to amplify his own unnatural healing. But his head was still spinning from having his jutsu reversed. As Naruto and Sasuke closed in, the monster decided to try a more elusive tactic. Congratulations, I'll show you another of my Kekkei Genkai. The monster raised his arms, and a dome of ice panels rose to surround the three of them. Hyoten, demon ice mirrors, the demon announced with a self-satisfied grin. That's Haku's technique. Naruto was aghast. Did you suck the blood from his corpse? I don't own any Haku, Doraku sneered, as he merged into one of the mirrors, and blood is only useful from a living source. I have owned this bloodline trait for more than 80 years. He put his hand to his chin in thought, and added, that is mildly interesting though, this Kekkei Genkai was supposed to have been exterminated almost 20 years ago. A left hand emerged from 11 of the mirrors, and each threw a single icy shuriken. The former friends blocked or dodged most of the projectiles, but Naruto received a light cut on his left calf. Just like old times, Naruto asked, closely watching the mirrors. And you wonder why I left, Sasuke responded, with only the slightest hint of a grin. He flashed a series of hand seals, and then announced, Kaiten, Phoenix Flower Jutsu. Uchiha exhaled dozens of fireballs, and each struck a mirror dead center. But to no one's surprise, the ice didn't melt even a little. You didn't expect that to work, did you? The demon asked. Not really, Sasuke shrugged, but it was worth a try. So what's the plan? Naruto asked when the next barrage of ice shuriken drove them back to back. I'm pretty sure my Rasengan can bust these mirrors. The same goes for my Chidori. But he knows it, and knows our attacks are short range. That's why he's keeping us corralled in the center. So how do we reach the edges? Why ask me? Sasuke snapped, you're the brilliant strategist who came up with the way to free Kakashi from Zabuza and defeat Neji during the Chunin exams. Alright, Naruto's eyes narrowed, give me a minute. We don't have a minute, Sasuke snarled as an ice star embedded itself in his right arm. He pulled a pair of small flasks from his belt, and dashed them on the floor. Then he used a slight variation on his clan's favored technique. Kaiten, Grand Fireball Jutsu. Flames filled the half of the dome in front of Sasuke. The oil mixture he had spread across the dirt exploded, increasing the size and heat of the inferno. It also filled the nearly sealed dome with smoke. Coughing, Naruto created a Rasengan to help clear the air. What was that ? Naruto choked. At least I'm trying something, the traitor countered, ending his jutsu. If I can make the jutsu hot enough, it might be able to melt the ice. And while I fill my half with fire, he can't attack me. So he can focus on me ? And you can focus on him. Look for a pattern, or just try to grab him next time he attacks. Yeah, that could work, Naruto considered, then he brightened at another thought. If nothing else, you're forcing him to spend more chakra to keep the dome in place. Sasuke nodded, and activated his technique again. Now that the oil was burned off, the smoke from the cloud of flame was manageable. As predicted, all of the demon's attacks now emerged from Naruto's side. But they were not focused on Naruto. Instead, the blonde ninja was forced to stop a constant barrage of ice blades aimed at the back of his former teammate. Looks like there's a flaw in your plan. After half a minute playing bodyguard, Naruto spoke. His voice was tinged with sarcasm. If I try to get close to the dome, he'll just hit your exposed back. I still haven't heard your plan. Sasuke snapped back, ending the fireball again. How about, now? A rumbling filled the tunnel, and an Odama Rasengan erupted from the ground under the mirrors in front of Sasuke. Just behind the sphere was Naruto. After shattering a column of the ice, Naruto stepped back. Sasuke darted out the hole, as the clone Naruto took the throwing stars aimed at Uchiha. After he was outside the dome, Sasuke activated his Chidori. He quickly circled the barrier, destroying the bottom level. The remainder of the ice mirrors crashed to the ground, shattering. Doroku appeared above the broken shards of ice, clapping. I don't know if you thought that would hurt me, Sasuke, or if you were just being vindictive. The demon smirked as he stopped his applause, but either way, I like it. Never taking his eyes from Sasuke, he appeared in front of Naruto, and used both the gentle fist and Ranshinsho to damage Naruto's nerves and chakra, leaving the boy sprawled on the floor. Naruto. Sakura paused in her treatment of Neji as her teammate fell. But the vampire did not pause, and moved behind Sasuke, disabling him as well. He then kicked Sasuke hard into the wall. And then there were none, Doroku beamed, unless you are ready to try again, Sakura ? He grinned viscously at the injured healer. You're not done with me yet, Naruto snarled, regaining his feet. Ah, Neji mentioned you also knew the counter to the gentle fist. The demon turned back to the blonde genin. I suppose this means you also know how to resist the Ranshinsho. Well, then, let's see what you can do. The demon dropped into a fighting stance again. Naruto drew his last kunai, gripping it tightly as he could. But the demon just shook his head and tore the weapon from the teen's grip. The blood drinker gestured, breaking the weapon against the granite wall behind him. Then, for good measure, he grabbed the shuriken left in Naruto's hip pouch, ripping them free, and scattered them. No more blades. No, 2 more. Naruto counted, placing his hands together, weapon summoning jutsu. Naruto's shirt bulged outwards above his heart. He reached in, and removed a familiar wooden box. He removed 2 kunai, one accented in red and the other in blue, and then tossed the box to Sakura. She set the box next to Hinata, and went back to awakening Neji. You waste a powerful jutsu for those ? Doroku laughed at him. Then he latched onto the kunai with his iron-controlling power, and pulled. But the weapons did not even shudder in the ninja's hands. Frowning, the demon pulled harder, but still no effect. Curious, he engaged the Byakugan and Sharingan again. Well, it's a little sloppy, but those are some powerful enhancements bonded to those knives. He put his hands in front of him, and ice began to form above them. Hyoten, Arctic Edge Jutsu, he noted as the frozen Nodaki finished forming. It's been a while since I had a good sword fight. Unless you had something else in mind ? Yeah, how about this ? Naruto crossed his hands, multi-shadow clone jutsu. 24 Narutos leapt forward, kunai extended. The demon snorted and put his hands together in an opposing gesture, clone disrupt jutsu. All of Naruto's clones exploded, leaving the confused original open. The monster's extra long blade scored a deep cut across the ninja's chest. Naruto scissored both his blades to pin the vampires. The wind chakra enhanced edges of the kunai began to cut into the curved ice weapon, and Doroku withdrew his sword. Kakashi-sensei said that technique was lost. Naruto glared at the demon. Naruto, I'm older than the Council of Shadows, the vampire smirked, I know plenty of lost jutsu. Doroku slashed deliberately high, trying to get Naruto to look into his eyes. But the teen tenaciously kept his gaze on the demon's shoulders, even though it hampered him. Even though he could tell Doroku was still recovering from Hinata's counter, the demon was able to score a trio of light hits, while Naruto only managed a single scratch. Naruto, Hinata's voice carried to him. She was leaning forward, and her Byakugan was once again active. Suddenly, his vision shifted and he was seeing the monster from Hinata's point of view, and through the Byakugan. The demon's chakra network was a patchwork of different powers and colors. Hinata adjusted her jutsu so that Naruto could see Doroku's chakra network almost from his normal vantage point. Then she focused on a green spot flowing up the bloodsucker's left leg. Strike there, she instructed. Naruto faked a leg sweep, then feinted for Doroku's heart with Sakura's blade. Once he had the opening, he stabbed the indicated area with Hinata's kunai. Blood fountained from the wound, far more than should have for such a light stab. At the same instant, the red color ran out of Doroku's eyes, and the tomo disappeared. Now, there. Hinata urged him to hurry while the demon was stunned. Naruto stabbed the purple patch moving through the demon's other leg, and another geyser of blood erupted. As the fluid stopped flowing, the frozen sword melted away. Left shoulder, she directed. With the attack, the Byakugan in Doroku's eyes faltered. Rage filled the demon's face, and he knocked Naruto away with an enhanced punch. The white-eye dojutsu returned as he snarled at the girl. I get it, Naruto smirked, you don't eat their blood. You store it in your body. That's how you gain everyone's powers, and how you control them. You may have figured out how my powers work. The demon ignored Naruto, and turned to stare at Hinata, but you won't be helping him anymore. Raiten, lightning cannon jutsu. A 6-inch sphere of lightning formed in his hand, and then shot towards Hinata. Naruto tried to intercept the attack, but Doroku elbowed him away when the boy ped. Lee reached for Hinata, but the half-healed wound in his leg opened, and he stumbled. The lightning ball struck Hinata's left side at the bottom of her rib cage, just under the swell of her. It burned through muscle, bone, and organ, damaging her stomach and left lung. The Kanoiki collapsed against the curved stone, spilling blood and acid onto the floor. Hinata, Naruto howled, instantly next to her, kneeling. "Na," she coughed, flecks of blood staining her lips. Sakura appeared a second later, looking slightly nauseous as she appraised the wound. "Sakura, help Hinata," Naruto ordered, growling under his breath as he stood again. As he turned to face Doroku, his eyes were glowing red, and the whisker scratches on his cheeks were larger and rougher. Naruto, inside of him, the nine-tailed fox's rage and bloodlust echoed his own. A small part of him was confused by the demon's anger, but most of him did not care. "Just this once, I will lend you my power without reservation or interference. Just promise me you will kill that bastard." "Humans can't kill demons," Naruto answered out loud, "but I can make him wish I could." "Even better," the Kyuubi grinned in sadistic pleasure. Neji's turned sharply away from his cousin, to look at Naruto. Under the Byakugan, Naruto looked different than ever before. The blue and red chakras were mixing, oddly harmonious, until Naruto's entire chakra network was suffused with a silver chakra, stronger, more terrible, and more beautiful than anything the Jonin had ever seen before. Naruto took 2 deep breaths. The first was harsh and ragged, but the second was smooth. The teen now possessed a deadly calm, and the vampire stepped back against his will. Naruto launched a complex series of hand signs, so fast even Neji and Sasuke had a hard time following. Both dojutsu users noted that Naruto was using a 13th seal, unlike any of the others. After 30 gestures, he completed the jutsu, placing his hands together. Ascendant Fox Jutsu. Naruto's arms grew longer, and his fingernails lengthened into razor claws. His face distorted, his nose and mouth distending into a vulpine muzzle. The scratches on his cheeks became true whiskers. His ears moved higher on his head, and stretched into sharp points. Short fur erupted from every inch of his skin. Finally, a fox tail ripped out the back of his pants. Unlike his tailed forms, Naruto's eyes remained human, and blue, and his fur was the same light blonde color as his hair. Impressive, Doraku's banter was more than slightly forced. Shall we start? Not yet, Naruto answered forcefully. He stuck Sakura's kunai into his belt, and then quickly his wrist with Hinata's gift. Well, now that I've mastered elemental manipulation, what should I work on next? Kakashi-sensei ? Naruto beamed at his teacher. I would hardly say you have mastered it. The Jonin smiled indulgently at the energetic student, but if you are looking for something to work on, let me ask you a question. Okay, you have used the shadow clone jutsu more than most shinobi 2, or even 3, times your age. Kakashi prefaced the question. What are the weaknesses of the technique? Naruto's face screwed up in deep thought at the query. I guess there are two major drawbacks, the genin finally said. It takes a lot of chakra, and the clones are pretty fragile. Can you elaborate? The teacher guided his student. When making solid clones takes a decent amount of chakra, even if you're as good at it as I am. And then I have to split my chakra among the clones, both so they can use jutsu, and so that chakra detection doesn't give me away. And on top of that, when the clones die, I don't get back all the chakra. Some of it is always lost. All correct, Kakashi was proud of his normally slow student. And the second weakness? Well, that's a lot simpler. 1 or 2 good hits will take out a clone. And how would you fix that? Well, the Mist and Rain ninja make clones from water. And Gaara uses sand. And those clones are both more durable than shadow clones, in their own way. Having something other than pure chakra as the base of the clone makes them harder to kill. Naruto's face scrunched again. The chakra thing is tougher. I suppose the best thing might be to make sure all the chakra from the clones comes back to me. And how would you achieve those goals? Kakashi prompted. Naruto frowned. Well, then, maybe that would be something you could work on, the copy ninja suggested. Naruto's blood sprayed into the air, but almost immediately, the wound healed. Sheathing Hinata's blade, Naruto flashed another series of seals even as the life liquid started to fall. Blood clone jutsu. The blood in the air gathered into 8 spheres, the silver chakra swirling around it. The blood began to expand and change, taking human form. After a few seconds, 8 more fox-shaped Narutos joined the original. The clones began to quickly circle the vampire, hiding which one was the real ninja. Didn't we already do this dance? The demon asked, configuring his hands again. Clone disrupt jutsu. None of the 9 Naruto copies so much as shuddered. Fine, then I will just find the original myself. Doraku seemed unnerved by Naruto's quiet rage. He ran forward, pulling the broken blade of the wakizashi into his hand. The monster landed before one Naruto, and carved into the ninja's left arm. Blood flowed freely from the wound, and Naruto paused long enough for the demon to land a solid backhand to the ninja's jaw. The vampire pulled his broken knife back, and the wound closed even as the metal cleared. Well, found the real one first. Doraku jumped back to avoid the genin's counterattack. The bloodsucker quickly jumped at the next Naruto, and sliced him across the chest. Again, the wound bled, but the teen did not exploded. Instead, he caught the weapon before it could cut too deep, and tore it from his opponent's hand. What is this? The demon demanded. In answer, Naruto stabbed his claws into Doraku's right bicep. The fox's ring finger triggered another gusher. The vampire retreated before the human could strike again, only to find he was surrounded by a tight circle of orange and yellow. Naruto's darted from one side of the circle to the other in random turns. Each one slashed the demon as he ped. For the first few dozen pays, nearly every attack caused a spurt of blood, and closed as quickly as Naruto's own injuries. With each pull of blood, Doraku lost chakra and jutsu, and one zombie was granted peace. But in the 4th second, the red fountain slowed, as did the demon's recovery. Then, Doraku started to laugh. Your power is impressive, he crowed, but this is futile. The villain's mirth faded. After you leave, I will just gather my power again. I will rebuild my army, and find new jutsu and Kekkei Genkai. And then I will come to the Konohagakure and I will drink the blood of every person in your village. You can't kill me, so you can't stop me. 18 ice blue eyes narrowed. 8 of the Naruto clones extended their right hands, only the one currently in front of Doroku did not. What question mark? The vampire smirked. Futen, Rasengan. 4 of the teens announced. An 8-inch green chakra sphere formed above each of their hands. The elemental Rasengan whipped the air, flapping the clothing of even the injured ninja. Raiten, Rasengan. The other 4 ninja clones intoned. These spheres were deeper purple in color than the normal Rasengan. Sparks crackled across the surface, and the fur of the clones holding the spheres stood up. As one, the clones attacked. The first wind sphere tore into the demon's left arm, just below the shoulder. It sliced through the limb until it hung on by only a thread of skin and muscle. The first lightning Rasengan struck the demon's right shoulder blade. The third clone stabbed his Futen Rasengan into the demon's left knee. 2 copies sandwiched the vampire's right side between a pair of Raiten Rasengan. The third green attack glanced down the demon's right forearm, disintegrating the outer third of the limb and hand. The fourth wind-imbued orb ate away at the demon's left hip. The last sparking sphere caught the left side of the demon's head, destroying his ear. The demon could barely stand as the 8 clones withdrew. The last Naruto finally raised his right hand. 1 small Rasengan formed above each upturned digit. For Hinata, he breathed, charging forward. Doroku could not dodge or block. 5 points Rasengan. Naruto shouted as he thrust his hand to the demon's chest. The spheres burrowed into the vampire's body, and he began to shake. Rrrraaaaaaaa. Naruto howled, expanding each of the 5 Rasengan another quarter inch. As he did, a 6-inch hole exploded out both the front and back of Doroku's chest. The 5 spheres burrowed out of then demon's body, 1 through each shoulder and hip, and the last through his brain and out his skull. Blood poured from the 7 wounds, and the Byakugan finally left his eyes. When Naruto withdrew his hand, the demon collapsed in a heap of seemingly random parts. The 9 teens started to turn away. But a harsh and hollow laugh turned them back. Doroku was standing again, through will or chakra, rather than muscle. You just don't get it, he taunted, his voice emerging from both his mouth and chest. Nothing you do can stop me. All you do is buy yourself a few more days while I heal, a few more weeks while I regain power and slaves. And you strengthen my resolve to make your friends suffer. Neji, which way is the way out? Naruto asked. The Jonin quietly pointed down the path opposite the one where he had hunted Lee. As one, 4 of the copies moved. They grabbed the demon, and carried him into the tunnel they had gone down before. They slammed him hard into the wall. 2 of the other clones followed closely behind, and when the demon was secure announced, Futen, Cyclone Spikes Jutsu. 7 miniature green tornadoes shot from each of the genin, but only 8 of the 14 hit. 2 went wide, and 4 of the chakra darts pegged through the hole in the demon's chest. The Naruto that had used the 5 points Rasengan leapt forward, breaking off a stalactite. He charged forward, pushing the stone cone through the gap in the demon's solar plexus. The rock scraped against the hole dug by the cyclone spikes, pinning the demon. 6 of the clones surrounded Doroku, and summoned Rasengan. But rather than the demon, the blonde shinobi attacked the walls and ceiling. The cavern began to rumble, and the other 3 Narutos used stage 2 Rasengan to prevent the cave-in from spreading back into the dining room. The tunnel collapsed, crushing Naruto's duplicates and burying the demon under tons of stone. Get out of that, Naruto growled. The remaining 2 clones dispersed, and Naruto's blood splashed to the floor. The real Uzumaki exhaled, and as his breath escaped, returned to his normal form. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, over to the girl. Subscribe, Sakura was kneeling over Hinata below for more videos.